All right, lots to get to. ICE left Chicago last Thursday, and police filled the gap. And days later, clergy-led protests saw 21 arrests, including pastors shoved to the ground. Broadview keeps shrinking protest zones and issuing emergency orders, while ICE ramps up elsewhere with 130 people detained in Charlotte. Hundreds nationwide still wait to see if they're going to be released after a judge ruled their arrests unlawful, and new reports show Venezuelan migrants abused after deportation. Broadview now faces a class action lawsuit over conditions. Same pattern everywhere. ICE pushes the limits and only answers for it later after people are already hurt. So we were wondering how things would be with ICE out of the picture. The Sheriff's Police, as well as Illinois State Police, have replaced ICE in the last week. On Friday, November 14th, there were 21 protesters arrested in a clergy-led protest. The mayor of Broadview, Katrina Thompson, placed blame on out-of-town protesters for injuring 4 officers. National Catholic reporters said that at least 7 faith leaders were arrested, and Reverend Michael Wolf said he was violently arrested, and footage shows police shoving him to the ground. You can see him here being shoved and then being forcefully taken down while he was doing nothing but stand there. The thing is that police have told protesters to stand in a designated protest area. At first, they could protest outside the facility. That was a few months ago. Then there was a fence. Then they took away the fence, but they pushed them back further away from the building. Now there's a designated zone that you have to stand in if you want to protest. You can see here a protester refusing to stand in a designated zone and being arrested. I mean, I already know the comments on these videos are saying that these protesters should all stand in the designated zones. They're not blocking traffic. They're not hurting anyone. They're not doing anything illegal other than not being in that zone. I wonder if these people that are arguing in favor of designated protest areas, if they would ever be effective at protesting anything. Again, these people are peacefully protesting. The protests on Friday and Saturday, as well as some alleged threats against the mayor, convinced her to issue a civil emergency order. She said that an out-of-town group of protesters tried to storm Broadview's Village Hall on Saturday. Apparently, a death threat was made against her on October 13th, more than a month ago. She said a bomb threat targeted the Village Hall on September 4th. Already last month, she signed an executive order to shrink an already small designated protest zone because she said it was too dangerous. Anyway, this is all happening as ICE descended into Charlotte and detained over 130 people this weekend. If these arrests are anything like the ones in Chicago, then some of them will be forced to sign deportation papers in the next couple weeks and then be deported, and many of them will eventually go free. Just today, CBS News reported on something we talked about last week, that hundreds of people held by ICE are waiting to find out if they'll be released by the end of this week. Remember that there are upwards of 600 people that could be released since a judge said that they were unlawfully arrested. These people are all over the states at this point. They're in Texas, they're in Louisiana. They take them from Chicago and they ship them elsewhere. CBS News reported 5 days ago that a human rights group determined that the deportation and treatment of more than 200 Venezuelan migrants imprisoned at CICOT in El Salvador amounts to arbitrary detention and enforced disappearance under international law. Apparently, they were beating the detainees and sexually abusing them. So you can see that ICE and Trump's administration are almost always on the wrong side of history. They make arrests, then later hundreds go free. An injunction is filed against them in Broadview for inhumane conditions. Now there's a class action lawsuit because of the conditions in Broadview. We said last week that a magistrate judge was going to tour the facility last Thursday to see the conditions, and now there's a class action lawsuit. The strategy is to break the law, bend the rules, push as much as they can, and then answer for it later, if they ever do. Well, later will eventually come for at least some of these people, and then we'll have to make sure that they're held accountable.